and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. Brought in a special guest and friend of ours, Mike Walters. He'll join us this morning for our 3 segments. Appreciate you getting up bright and early with us. We're going to talk about a host of different topics. We're going to open up our phone lines this morning, hear a little bit from you folks. On our third and final segment this morning, we'll be joined this morning by Debbie. Debbie is the creator of the OSLU, Debbie Slack. She is the lady who graciously puts on the Ozark University system of programs and classes. We'll hear from her this morning, and we'll spend a little bit of time talking about her programs and what they entail. And she'll be joining us at the 8 o'clock hour. So for the next 2 hours, we're going to talk about topics that are hot in the news. We're going to evaluate, analyze, maybe rant a little, hear from you, get your thoughts and opinions on these topics and issues, and we'll move forward with our morning. You know, awareness and education are the key factors of what our job is to do at this stage, right? I mean, we recognize that things are coming apart fast, and so one of the things that we can do is to make sure that we're educated about what our alleged legislators are proposing. And there's a couple of issues that I want to talk about this morning, and I want to open up with the fact that our own governor has basically come out and said that he won't appear in Stoddard County on the subpoena for the gun trial of the individual who is suing based on the fact that Missouri Department of Revenue is scanning and submitting his information to a third-party government or a third-party agency. Now, I got to tell you, the fact that Jay Nixon will not appear on a subpoena, and I'm not quite sure exactly what the legal ramifications are of that. I'm not schooled enough in state law to understand what the issues are with that. But we're going to evaluate that, and I'd like to hear your opinions about it because, you know, Jay Nixon is really. You know, he was questioned about it by a reporter from St. Louis, and the reporter basically said, "Governor, what about the subpoena? Are you going to appear at the May 3rd hearing?" In a jumbled answer, the governor first flatly rejected the idea that he would appear in Stoddard County. Then he quickly said he'd turn the matter over to his legal counsel. "No," said Nixon. I've people, by golly, guys. I've been in public service for 26 years. I've been, I'll leave that to the lawyers.
I'm entitled.
Yeah. What that means is the law that applies to you doesn't apply to me, and I just have to figure out a way to get out of it so that I can save a little face and not let you see too much egg on my maw.
You know, he was awful late coming up on the radar screen in reference to this entire matter.
Yeah.
And then when he did pop up on the radar screen, it wasn't in a good place.
Well, you know, the other side to this is, and this is just rumor I've heard kind of circling through, but that there are documents out there that support the fact that he knew this was going to happen. That he knew that they were going to transfer the CCW stuff over to ATF and SSI. And so the question at this stage is more than just this issue of this Stoddard County lawsuit. If you're not familiar, Stoddard County, a guy went down to get his driver's license renewed. They wanted to scan his CCW permit in and his birth certificate and all of his other documentation. He refused, and Stoddard refused to give him a license. So he filed a suit in civil court stating that they were prohibiting him from getting a driver's license because they were violating the tenets of the 2009 law that says Missouri cannot cooperate with Real ID on the federal dossier bill. Because let's be honest, that's exactly what it is. So the real question now is whether he will follow the law like the rest of us have to do, and we'll see what happens. Now, he could be held in contempt of court if he refuses to comply. And to be honest with you, our state constitution does allow us to impeach a governor if he breaks the law. Quite frankly, I think we've already got enough documentation to support the fact that he broke the law if we can prove that he knew that DOR was going to release the names of 163,247 CCW holders in the state of Missouri to the Social Security Administration and the ATF.
You have to wonder if somebody gets hold of that many names and the personal information of that many people. You can't. I find it hard to believe that the head of the Highway Patrol would get that information and that prior to releasing it, he would not be smart enough to walk or go wherever he has to go to the Attorney General's office for the state
and question whether or not this was appropriate.
To say, can I do this? Number one, is it legal? Can I do this for XYZ reasons? Especially after all the ruckus that was raised in the state of New York when they released all the information, the personal information on the CCW holders up there.
Well, good point. But here's the difference in why they didn't do that. Number one, Missouri already has a law that would prohibit public leak of that information, like happened in New York State. So, as an example, there was no statutory prohibition against them issuing that information to reporters under a Freedom of Information Act, which is how that information got distributed. In Missouri, we have a prohibition against that already, so he wouldn't question that aspect of it. On the other side of the fence, here's the problem. Law enforcement, and I use the term loosely, has this opinion that we can do whatever we want to do under the guise of investigation. Yeah. And here's the problem. There's no probable cause, but they believe so strenuously that their poop don't stink and that they can never be wrong that they are willing to, in this case, just say, well, we have the right to do an investigation. But his radar should have been flying all over the place. Red flags should have been flying in his mind. Red sirens and alerts and everything else should have been going off telling him, well, wait a minute, what's your probable cause to do this investigation? Yeah. And a fishing expedition for, well, we might have some people who have simultaneously filled out a disability request because of mental disability, who also might simultaneously hold a CCW. And we're trying to find out if any of those people have both a disability claim and a CCW is completely, that's not probable cause. That's a fishing expedition.
Well, that would be okay, except for the fact that those 163,000 people already underwent a background investigation before they got their permits, okay? So it's like we're reinvestigating the people that have already been investigated, and you don't investigate 163,000 people at one time.
Exactly. That's my point. There's no reason, no justifiable excuse that he can come up with. And you know what? If he's the colonel of the Highway Patrol, and he is, or commandant actually, if he doesn't know the law well enough to know what probable cause means by this point in his career, then what he's done is inexcusable. And, if he did know better, then it's illegal. If he didn't know better, it's malfeasance in office, and he should be removed anyway. Now, I've had somebody who happens to know him who's made some statements to me about the fact that he's really a good man and blah, 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 and, he wasn't really aware of what the implications of this was, and the guys below him did this. You know what? I don't care. The captain of the Titanic, the captain of the Achille Lauro, that rolled? Was that the name of that boat that rolled over there? Who was drunk and driving that ship in Italy, and he crashed it into the. Remember, he was drunk. Maybe it wasn't the Achille Lauro.
He was with his girlfriend. Okay. Hey.
Yeah, he was busy with his girlfriend and a bottle of wine while his boat was being driven along the reef and rolled over. And I don't know how many people died in the accident. He was held accountable. And if it had been his first mate who had done that, he would have been held accountable also. So my point is this. Just because you weren't the person who actually, you have an obligation as a leader of an organization to say, there are certain things that you have been delegated authority to accomplish to meet your job requirements. But other things that you even have the slightest suspicion are outside the law should be run up the chain of command to evaluate whether or not that's acceptable. That's military doctrine. Well, why wouldn't it be Missouri Highway Patrol doctrine?
Well, but aside from the legal issues, Mike, let's look at the good judgment issues.
Well, we have to assume that, like the founding father said, we're not going to rely upon men's goodness. We're going to bind them down with the chains of a constitution. That's the premise of why we have law. So let's not even get into the fact of whether or not they're ethical or they possess good judgment, because the automatic assumption is that's why laws exist, to prevent us from those either who don't have good intent or two, don't exercise good judgment.
But I think we do have to. I think we do have to investigate the ethical portion of this. Okay, if you think that there's a problem, okay, that exists where you have people that have CCW permits that shouldn't have got the CCW permits, and you want to check on some additional information that has to do with those people, then the way to do that is to get the state law amended so that on the front side of the investigation, when you go to the sheriff's department, they do whatever it is that they do that addresses that concern. But you just don't go on a fishing expedition and release the personal information of 163,000 people.
Absolutely. Much less without cause to believe that there are actually any one of the 163,000 who have actually done something wrong.
Well, and these are law-abiding people. They went through the process.
Well, we're not after criminals anymore. Now what we're after is law-abiding people in the United States who we can demonize, demagogue, and prove that this administration's policies are correct after all, that we're really all right-wing terrorists just waiting for an opportunity to explode. I'll tell you what, Eric Holder yesterday, we're going to talk about him on the next segment, because that racist, two-bit, two-faced lion, sack of human excrement has the unmitigated gall to call amnesty a civil right. We'll be right back.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains from now until the end of April is offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for just $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment is only $6.79.
It's a call and make your voice heard on the biggest issues making headlines today, or on absolutely anything in your head. Every call I get goes on the air totally unscreened. It's unpredictable and uncensored, and you'll never know what to expect. Anything can and will happen on the next Alan Combs Show.
And that's who you can catch every weeknight, 9 till midnight. The Alan Combs Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point, Monday through Friday.
All right, so to wrap up this issue with Nixon, the second Nixon traitor, the second Nixonian traitor we've had in
no relationship,
40 years. No, just the same last name. And that doesn't mean that every Nixon in the country is no good, but these particular two are not a very good reflection on the name. I don't want to paint all Nixons that way. I don't know any other Nixons, but I'm sure there's plenty of them out there.
And they're good people.
So, well, we hope and assume. Here's the process. At this point, Nixon's lawyers would have to file a motion to quash the subpoena in the court, and then it would be up to the judge to make the determination as to whether or not he should be allowed to avoid the subpoena. Now, the article does say that as of Thursday afternoon, of course, we're on Saturday morning here, so we don't know what happened yesterday. But as of Thursday afternoon, the court had not received any kind of a motion that would quash the governor's subpoena. So if he doesn't show, and the hearing is I think it's May 3rd, if he doesn't show, then he can be held in contempt. And the state constitution allows the governor to be impeached if he breaks the law. The Republican House Speaker Tim Jones left open the possibility that Nixon could face impeachment if he breaks the law and ignores the Stoddard County order. Here's what Tim Jones, here's what Tim Jones, the House Speaker, had to say. I'll reserve judgment on that, but I think all options need to be on the table regarding this matter because I hear from more and more Missourians about this every day, not just people who have CCW permits. Jones did say that subpoena orders could be adjusted around the governor's schedule, but he said Nixon should still answer questions in the case. So, here's the problem. We still don't have, and by the way, if you're a CCW holder and you have not gone down and filed your charges for identity theft against Jay Nixon, against the Missouri Department of Revenue, against Brian Long personally, he's the guy who was the head of DOR, but he's now resigned under all of this flack. Also, the Missouri Highway Patrol as an entity, and Commandant Colonel Replogle, and also the last one would be Morpho Trust. If you have not gone down to your local county sheriff and charged and filed identity theft charges against those entities, you've made a serious mistake. Why? Well, because Chris Koster, who's our Attorney General, has refused to take any kind of action against this issue. And yet, he has an obligation as the Attorney General to do what's right and prosecute where he knows there's a problem. Now, he's refused to prosecute.
I sent him an email, by the way. So far.
Not a response, huh?
No, crickets.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Well, I'll tell you why. What we're doing is we're doing a grassroots effort here in the state of Missouri to force his hand. And here's how we're doing it. We are all getting everybody who's a CCW holder, whose reputation has been besmirched and smeared, whose private information has been dumped to multiple agencies, multiple government entities, and we don't even know who else.
Or why.
Or under the false pretense that, this guy Joe might have committed a crime, so let's go and look into him and look into his background.
But I thought they already did a background investigation.
Well, what this really was a de facto gun registration function for the federal government, because having that information is a basic list of at least 163,000, some significant percentage of the total gun owners in the state of Missouri.
No, that's not. That's just a fraction.
Some percentage.
Okay.
Of the gun owners of Missouri, but
okay.
Look, when you're trying to find people, you've been in you know the ropes. So if you're trying to find a lot of people, right, and you're trying to figure out who all of these people are, you got to start somewhere. So you start with the highest number of percentage that you can. And what does the federal government want to know about everybody? Who's got the guns and where are they? So you start with this giant list. You can build off of that list, but you start with this giant list.
Do the first people in the camp get the best seats and the best beds and stuff? That's what I want to know. Do we get the pick of where we got to stay? Do we get to sit at the cool people's bench at the POW camp?
I don't know. It won't be a POW camp. It'll be a FEMA camp. And I don't know. They'll probably put me in solitary so that I can't have cooperation and contact with anybody else.
No radio shows at the camp? Come on.
I don't think so. I don't think they allow Voice of America to be broadcast through the camp.
I just can't imagine what poor judgment it was that led to the decision to do this. And then afterwards, it was like they were having to drag the information out of everybody involved.
Well, they all denied it. They all denied it initially, even in Senate hearings, which apparently they must not have been under oath at those hearings, because otherwise they should all have been charged with perjury, because they refused to acknowledge it. Brian Long told state senators numerous times. No. Well, yes, okay, yes, we did. And then after more intense pressure, well, how many times? Once. Well, okay, twice.
Well, maybe 3 times, or maybe we're not sure.
Well, here's the kicker, and I watched the video with Kurt Schaefer, Senator Schaefer, in which he was actually pontificating on the floor.
Whoa, what was it? That's a great word, by the way. You don't get to use that word very often.
I pontificate every day.
Oh, my God.
Including right now.
All right.
If you ever want to hear the term, if you ever want to look up the word pontificate, you'll see a picture of a senator or basically any congressman, and that means these are the people who get up there and grandstand in front of the cameras and basically don't say anything but speak for 30, 40, 50 minutes, right? And at the end of their speech, you're sitting there looking at the guy next to you and saying, "What was he talking about?"
Is he the BS or CS? One of the two.
It's BCS.
Ah, okay.
Anyway, the upshot is that these guys are dirty as a 2-year-old pair of work blue jeans off the farm, and full of the same thing.
It's just sad. That's all. It is a sad commentary on where it is that certain aspects of law enforcement are nowadays. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that we're going to go out and go on this giant fishing expedition, okay?
I don't think it was a fishing expedition. I'm telling you what it was. This was a backdoor methodology to build a national database on gun owners.
Okay, but here's what
I'm going to tell you something else, and I heard this the other day, and I'm trying to verify it. So there's a little bit of rumor, but I got it from a pretty good source. The ATF has been going around to gun dealers and doing their check-ins. They come in and they go through the books and so forth and so on. And until I confirm it, I won't say where, but there was a store that shall remain unnamed where they went in and they pulled up the name of everyone who bought more since the ban talk started, who bought more than one AR-15. So that they could go and investigate whether they still are in possession of 2 or 3 or 4 and have sold any. Because if they sold any and they made a profit, in other words, let's say they bought one at the retail store for $1,000 and then turned around and sold it for $1,500 to some knucklehead.
They're going to tax you to death.
No, then they charge you with dealing in firearms without a license. It's a federal felony.
AR-15s. Have you seen that?
It doesn't matter whether it's an AR-15 or if it's a 22 pistol. If you buy and sell guns and you do it for profit, you are operating as a dealer without a license. There's a federal statute from ATF related to that. And what it means is that when you see these guys at a gun show who have their own table, right, and they say, "I'm a collector, or I'm selling my own private collection," if ATF can ever walk in and say and prove that they've made a profit, they can charge them with dealing without a license. And they oftentimes do, especially if they got somebody they don't like who they see moving a lot of volume. Now, with all due respect, that's an occupational business license, right? I mean, what makes a licensee versus an unlicensed guy any different? Quite frankly, a 4473, that white form you fill out when you buy a gun, as far as I'm concerned, is defined as an infringement against the Second Amendment. There should be no review and background checks for firearms purchase. Now, I know that the folks out there I'll be getting emails and letters and phone calls about, well, what do you mean? All the crazy people can go out and buy guns. Let me tell you something. The crazy people can go out and buy guns anyway. You are just operating under a delusion if you really truly believe that someone who has vile intent cannot find a way to obtain a gun. Period. Even if they steal it, or if they make it, if they go out and obtain one from a family member or something along those lines. Look, the vast majority of these guys who have committed these heinous acts, including the one in Newtown, he stole them from his own mother after he killed her, by the way. So, look, if someone's got vile intent, they're gonna commit a crime with a gun. And there's nothing that we can and should try to do to prohibit lawful people who want to, or honest people who want to purchase a gun from doing so. I am diametrically opposed to it. The words of the Second Amendment say, shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed is a declarative statement that leaves no room for interpretation by the Supremes or otherwise. Just because 9 of them stand up there and dance and shake their hands while they sing, illegal, illegal, doesn't matter to me. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A measure to allow the FAA to fix flight delays by withdrawing furloughs is expected to be signed by the president.
Even though he previously had threatened to veto any partial sequester fixes. But White House Press Secretary Jay Carney says they're not happy with it.
This is a Band-Aid.
No argument there from Republicans. Buck McKeon of California, the Armed Services Committee chair, says he's upset nothing has been done to lessen sequester's impact on the military.
Fox Radio's Mike Makowitz. The GOP arguing in their weekly address for the sequester to be replaced by more responsible cuts.
There are some in the Obama administration who thought inflicting pain on the public would give the president more leverage to avoid making necessary spending cuts and to impose more tax hikes on the American people.
Representative Bill Schuster. And part of a site in Lower Manhattan now secured after surveyors find what appears to be part of one of the planes attacked on 9/11. Fox News. We report, you decide.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Wits End Classic Barbershop, who is the sponsor of our telephone lines this morning. They're located on the square in West Plains. It's Wits End Classic Barbershop. Thanks to our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. You can find them on the web at westplainspawn.com. They can be reached at 417-256-3000, and they're located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. 400 guns undercover. Pizza Hut, our friends down there on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch menu with salad, pizza, and pasta. Excellent opportunity for you to have a great lunch and eat well and something tasty. Our friends over at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com. Telephone 417-257-7799. Our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can be found on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. My friend Brian there can be reached at 870-492-4030. They're located a half mile east of Walmart at 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's right off the square in West Plains at 2 Evans Arcade, and you can reach her at 255-2253. And my friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction. If you're considering doing remodeling, custom or new construction, or anything like commercial, give Bill a call and have him bid on your project at 293-0116.
Kim Commando, aka the Digital Goddess, keeps you plugged in with a daily feature. Kim Commando's Digital Minute. This segment keeps you informed with what's going on in the technology world, along with new tips and tricks to use at home to improve those computer skills. Catch Commando at 7:22 a.m. during Cooper & Company on the Ozark's Best News Talk. If the feature has you craving more, join Kim, the Digital Goddess, Saturdays from noon to 3 on the Ozark's Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
Weather is a service of News Talk 107.1 The Point. Contact Josh or Cody at 255-2548 for more information on making weather sponsorships part of your marketing plans.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, well, we're going to wake up to showers and possibly a thunderstorm before 1 o'clock, high near 64 degrees. Later on, a very good chance of showers, mainly before 1 in the morning, a low around 49. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
If you're looking for a new or used pistol, shotgun, or rifle, West Plains Pawn and Gun has over 450 firearms in stock. All your favorite models like Beretta, Glock, Smith & Wesson, Kimber, and many, many more. West Plains Pawn and Gun is also a Class 3 arms dealer, so if they don't have it on the shelf, West Plains Pawn and Gun can order it for you. Even those hard-to-get guns. West Plains Pawn and Gun, 1713 U.S. Highway 160 West in West Plains, or online at westplainspawn.com.
We are back. All right, so today it being Saturday morning, and my being weary and exasperated from a week of frustration with the state of things, we're trying to express and expose what's going on and keep you educated, because the mainstream media won't, and they just feed you propaganda. But we're trying to do it in a little bit more lighthearted fashion, because frankly, other than I can't take it.
You wouldn't be weary, okay, if those two white Anglo-Saxon Protestant NRA American Legion members had not set off those horrible explosions up in Boston.
Well, I'll tell you what. That whole issue, it smells so many different ways. It's bad so many different ways. You know, who knows? And I don't know that we'll ever know. You know, the more we think that there's something dirty going on. Unless, look, we all know something was desperately wrong in Benghazi. Where are we now? We still can't even get the names of the survivors.
That's a good bumper sticker. All it needs to say, too, is Benghazi with a question mark on the back of it.
Right.
That pretty much says
Benghazi,
it all. ...
big question mark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The second one is Fast and Furious. Here we are. How many years later, we still don't know the Eric Holder, the two-bit racist monster who runs our Department of Just Us, has actually have the unmitigated goal to sit there and say, I've been subpoenaed, I've refused to provide the information, I have a criminal and a civil contempt charge, and nobody has picked that up and rammed his ass into a gray bar hotel.
I don't say that when you talk Fast and Furious and you're like 2 years later. I don't say 2 years later with that. I'm like 2 dead federal agents later. How about that?
Not to mention at least 200 Mexican civilians.
Yeah, but they don't count.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Not according to the DOJ, right?
There you go.
So here's more on this traitor, and I call Eric Holder a flat-out traitor. I make no bones about it. The man is a traitor, and the things he does on a day-in and day-out basis are considered treason.
I really like his stand on immigration, though.
Oh, well, we haven't even gotten to that. Because what he's doing is he's actually got the gall to call amnesty a civil right. Now, who the hell is this guy to give away citizenship in our country to a group of people who have illegally violated our borders? He is supposed to be the keeper of the rule of law. And this guy just, I'm telling you, every time I see him, my stomach starts to churn and I want to vomit. I'm going to let you actually hear it right out of this piece of trash's own words. Eric Holder, if you ever hear this tape, you are a traitor to the United States of America. You should be charged with treason. You should be publicly shamed during a trial, and then you should be given the ultimate punishment and your choice of which exit form you would like to take.
Oh, that gave me a great idea.
Creating a pathway to earned citizenship for the 11 million unauthorized immigrants in this country is absolutely essential.
A pathway to earn citizenship is absolutely essential?
Yeah.
No, it isn't. It's only essential if you're trying to make sure that you give them something so that they'll vote for you. Remember, California the other day came out and said they're going to let non-citizens sit on juries. Can you believe that?
What?
California came out the other day and passed a law that says non-citizens can sit on juries.
Huh?
And on top of that, I'm a felon and they won't let me sit on a jury here in my own county. I called and asked them. By the way, I'm pissed, and I'm going to fight that.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, it means that the rule of law no longer is the rule of law. What it means is that, and we're not done with the Eric Holder thing yet, by the way. I just backed it up because I want you to hear this man express his treason in his own words. But can you believe that we are actually going to violate the rule of law by allowing illegals to sit on our juries and determine the outcome of cases of lawful Americans? I'm telling you, folks, the entire planet has flipped upside down. The gravity no longer functions. You can't figure out where you are. because your feet aren't planted on the ground, and we are like spinning in free fall in open space. And that is why everybody is feeling completely disoriented in this nation, because we don't know there's nothing to grab a hold of to say this is solid and I've got a firm foundational grasp.
Mike, this has been going. This is 50 years worth of failed immigration policy. 50 years.
I'm not just talking about immigration. I'm talking about the entire entire totality of our situation as a planet. Right? Gravity has escaped the atmosphere, and the planet is completely spun. And no one can seem to get their feet. Here's the problem. We all feel like we are on ice, and we can't quite grab our feet. We don't feel like we have a firm stance on anything anymore. And the reason for that is exactly this feeling of lost and aimless, just bouncing from one wall to the other. We don't know what our grounding is, because we're not in touch with it anymore. There's nothing to touch. When here you have to think of it this way. Law is what keeps us grounded. It is what keeps us. Everyone should know, and our founders were very, very effusive in expressing this. The rule of law.
Another good word, effusive.
Rule of law is the foundation by which all men live. And most law we don't even need expressed out, because it's natural law. Thou shalt not kill, rob, steal your neighbor's wife, whatever, right? Those basic foundational laws that are common law don't need to be reiterated in law. I mean, it's okay to put a penalty to them, so you have to name them, right? So if someone does commit murder, you know how to deal with it. But for the most part, laws have to be, and this was the founders' words, not mine, laws must be, one, understandable to the average person, and two, they have to be realistic and they have to serve an actual purpose. What we have now is hundreds of thousands of pages of laws that are not complementary to each other. They're impossible to understand. You need an attorney to interpret them. This is going back to the Dark Ages, when you had to have a priest to interpret the Bible, because nobody was able to read. No one else spoke Latin except him, and you had to basically take his word for everything.
Well, the founders,
and what did that lead to in the church? Tyranny.
But the founders also said, Mike, that the republic which we have, okay, is only a system that can exist, okay, and apply to a group of people who believe in God. And that if we lose our faith, okay, in God, that the whole system doesn't work.
Actually, what they said is that our nation would only work on a moral foundation, right? From people who had moral grounding and a moral foundation, because it takes a certain level of trust in order for us to put these representatives in place with the assumption that we can trust that they're going to do what's best for us, not what's best for them. And look at where that's left us. The problem here that we have is that there's no morality, there's no faith. People don't believe in ethical behavior anymore. They believe in what's in it for me. And, hey, that's a sad commentary. Go ahead, call. Okay, caller, if you call here one more time and hang up like that, don't ever call again. I'm going to play you this clip from Holder.
Pathway to earned citizenship for the 11 million unauthorized immigrants in this country is absolutely essential.
Where is it essential, Mr. Holder? Under what guise do you say that this is essential? Why is it essential? These people have violated and broken the law. We owe them no covenant. We owe them no benefits. We owe them nothing. We owe them nothing but an ejection port back over the border, preferably with an IA, tattooed on their forehead, so that if they come back again, they're an easy target, and we have a policy that says, like a coyote, they can be taken out. I'm telling you, I've had
it. The way we treat our friends and neighbors who are undocumented, by creating...
They're not undocumented, you piece of trash. They're illegal.
The next thing you know, we're going to be calling drug dealers unlicensed pharmacists.
A mechanism for them to earn citizenship and to move out of the shadows. transcends the issue of immigration status. This is a matter of civil and human rights. Status. This is a matter of civil and human rights. Status. This is a matter of civil and human rights. This is a matter of civil and human rights. This is a matter of civil and human rights.
No, it ain't. It's only a civil and human right when you want to declare it so. And Holder, you ain't no dictator. You're a two-bit racist piece of trash who ought to be imprisoned for the violations against your oath of office and against your oath to support and preserve the Constitution of the United States. You are an uncivilized animal. You may wear a suit, but let me tell you something, pal. You ain't nothing but a dog. Makes me ill. We'll be back in just a minute.
The further we reach out, the closer we all become. Hey, it's Nate Cooper here with the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. I invite you to join us Sunday mornings. The program is a combination of local and national known speakers. So I encourage you to do two things. Listen in on Sunday mornings from 8 until noon and find out how you can become a sponsor of one of the programs. Just call our offices at 255-0427. Beyond the Point, Sundays on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. The Republican National Committee is in Los Angeles, and I'm talking to them following my show on whether or not the Republican National Committee actually has a clue on what they're doing. I think they do. They've got to come to Cleveland. I'll tell you why on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
We're made to look like we don't have a heart, that we don't care. Have courage and have faith and stand and do the right thing. Hopefully, the rest of the country will come around. But somebody has to say the hard thing. We have to do the right thing, even though it may be painful for all of us.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Weekdays from 2 to 5, it's Glenn Beck on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
All right, we're back. Next hour, we're going to take up the topic of immigration because that's an area of expertise that Mike has. And we're going to, I'll tell you what, he's going to give you some eye-opening information about it because, you know, our immigration laws are so broken. I keep making this statement over and over and over and over and over again. No immigration discussion until the borders are verifiably shut and sealed. After that, we can have any discussion you want. But until the borders are verifiably sealed, and you have a 0.00001% leakage, we got nothing further to discuss. Anyone who's illegal, immediate ejection. If you've been accused of a crime, double the penalty for you because you're already illegal. That's common sense, folks. That is common sense. Holder calls amnesty a civil right. Imagine this racist, statist, violator of the law himself giving us his hypocritical view on anything other than the preferred color of the bars on his cell. By the way, that whole diatribe you just heard, that diarrhea of the mouth of the ass who calls himself Eric Holder, was done at the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Oh, how surprising.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is check on to the Border Patrol Local 2544 site and just read back about 3 years about how far downhill things are going.
All right, so what is it now?
It's Border Patrol local. It's the Union Local 2544. And it is the Union Local that is the largest Border Patrol union within the United States. That has I think they have 800 and some agents.
2544?
2544. And if you go back about 3 years and read all the posts for the last 3 years, it will give you a good view of the direction that things have been going. And I can tell you, going back as far as 10 years ago, and we would fly the border, and there's a giant pipeline right away that goes from west of Tucson up towards Phoenix, and it was a common route for illegals coming into the country to take up through that area. And back when they had a big presence, supposedly, a big presence on the border, you would fly and find groups of more than 200 at a time on their way coming up through the desert. And at the time, we're U.S. Customs, and Immigration is the Border Patrol, so we would call them and say, hey, we're at this set of coordinates. We got a group of 200. They're coming up through the desert. And I'll tell you that in groups, when you get them in large groups, they're very brazen.
Right.
It's like there's 200 of us, okay?
And there's 8 of you.
That's right. There's 200 of us, okay? So you go ahead and do something about it. And, there's a helicopter up in the air taking a look at us, and we don't really care. And you would call the Border Patrol and tell them, this is where we are. This is the direction they're headed in. They're following the pipeline road. And they would sometimes call us back and say, just go ahead and break off, because we don't have the personnel to respond. We don't have the personnel to respond safely. We don't have sufficient detention space because we've already got all our detention cells are full, and just leave them alone. And it was very frustrating.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, it was very frustrating because you're like, wait a minute. It's like 200 people are just walking into my country.
Right.
Okay, without so much as a buy your leave, and you just want me to ignore them?
I mean, that's just... Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Hey, Eric Holder's comments on illegal immigration or the immigration deal, they're you can debate the policy. It's a policy decision. You can debate the policy, whether you believe in a certain fashion of pathway to citizenship or amnesty or whatever you want to call it. I think it's wrong-headed, but it's debatable. It, however, has nothing to do with civil and human rights, and he knows that. He is so cynical that he has begun his portrait of bigotry that he will paint us in, or paint anyone in that doesn't agree with his vision of it. That's the reason he used those terms.
Because, well, first of all, he's speaking, first of all, to an audience which is going to cheer him on for that viewpoint, because this is the Mexican-American Illegal Defense Fund. I mean, so right off the bat, you got to recognize whom this guy's talking to. He's speaking to the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund. So, immediately you have to recognize that anything that this guy says, first of all, is going to be his truest thoughts. Because now he's speaking to a friendly audience, and he doesn't have to worry about watching his words.
Well, I think that, again, Eric Holder is the epitome of what we do not need in this country if we're going to stay, pardon the word, solvent. And that's what I had to say.
How about sovereign?
Yeah, well, there's a little difference, but solvent is something else to consider.
Well, I get you. I mean, my problem with him is it's not a money issue, although it's, illegal immigration is partially a money issue. But that's the result of the actual crime. The true crime...
Sovereignty, I agree, is far, far more important, but we cannot even stay solvent with inept civil servants like him.
Well, I won't disagree with that, but the issue of the issue of solvency is secondary in relation to the sovereignty issue, because frankly, if your nation is sovereign and you protect and block your borders, we don't have to worry about that solvency issue, because solvency is a symptom of the disease of lack of sovereignty. So, it's like saying, well, if I don't even want to draw an analogy. I think I made my point. Eric Holder, as far as I'm concerned, is a hack. He's a racist, a plain, obvious racist. No one can doubt his racism. No one.
I will tell you that the roots for all of this were laid in 1986. For the current downhill slide were laid in 1986. Because in 86, when they came up with the Immigration Reform Act of 1986, which was Congress saying, look, we've got the solution. And I'm sorry, because when Cruz and all these other guys now, they're stepping forward going, look, we've got the solution.
Yeah,
okay?
We've heard this story before. We watched this movie and we saw the end of it. And
right.
It wasn't good then, and it's not going to be good this time around. I mean, look, it's like saying, it's like that movie True Grit everybody loved with John Wayne, right? I mean, True Grit was probably one of the all-time great movies. And then they came out and made True Grit again with different actors. But the movie ended the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane only ends one way, folks. I don't care how many actors you put into the movie, it always ends the same way. And this is exactly what Mike is referencing. When you're talking about what we did in 1986, where we gave them amnesty based on a promise of this is going to happen, that's going to happen, like every other promise that the progressive left makes, it never comes to fruition. They always find an excuse, usually budgetary, to explain away why it can't be accomplished. And then they come back to the table. You know who the left progressives remind me of? North Korea. If you just give us some food, we'll stop our nuclear program. So we give them food and money, and 6 months later they start it all over again. Then they come back and say, well, if you just give us some food, we'll stop the nuclear program. And then they come back 6 months later, and they start their nuclear program all over again. Then they come back a year later and... Go ahead, caller.
Yes, Mike, I was about to mention that when you were talking about Reagan in 86,
Reagan did us no favors in that regard.
Got us amnesty, and that was supposed to be in exchange for tax reasons as well.
Tax relief, yeah. So basically we traded the sovereignty of our nation for some tax relief? Talk about selling your birthright for a bowl of soup.
And what comes around again, and here we are. 12 million this time.
Well, it'll be a lot
12
more than
million?
12. It'll be a lot
Wait
more
a
than
second.
that.
Minimum, 12 million minimum.
Wait a second. There's right now an article out there that says that immigration bill to bring in at least 33 million. 33 million. And by the way, I even doubt that number, because what we don't know is we know the number normally thrown around is 12 to 20 million. First of all, that's like let me just give you the analogy of that. So you ask me to build you a home, and I come up and I say, sure, here's a beautiful piece of land. I can build you a home for somewhere between 12 and 20 million. And I'm not going to tell you what the price is going to be until after you sign the contract and I begin construction. You think you're going to hire me to build that house? I doubt it. And so here we've got, they say, oh, it's only 12 million. Some people, oh, it's 20 million. I'm telling you right now, there are probably another 10 million nobody even wants to talk about, because they know that if we talk about it, Americans are going to get even more pissed off than they already are.
Well, the other issue that you have in reference to this is, we'll catch it on the break.
We got a break coming up, and we're going to have to take it because this is capitalism in action. Unlike everything else on the planet, that's what makes the wheels go round here. If you want to hold on for the break, we can bring it back on.
Breakfast from
Glenn,
the Donut
are you there?
Palace.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, hold on. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, this will be top of the hour, so we're going to have to do news and weather. And make sure that you support and promote our sponsors, because that's who keeps us on this radio program. If you'd like to be a sponsor of America's Voice Now, I'd love to have you on board. You can send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org, and I'll be more than happy to talk with you about getting a sponsorship for the show. We'll be right back.
This is KBMV Birch Tree is the Ozarks best news talk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. President Obama's weekly message about the vote in Congress to end forced time off for air traffic controllers. The automatic federal budget cuts had been causing backups at some airports.
Congress passed a temporary fix, a Band-Aid. But these cuts are scheduled to keep falling across other parts of the government that provide vital services for the American people. And we can't just keep putting Band-Aids on every cut.
Pennsylvania Congressman Bill Schuster for the Republicans.
Sequestration is bad policy, the wrong way to reduce the deficit. That's why House Republicans have voted twice to replace these automatic cuts with smarter ones.
He says President Obama was using flight delays as political leverage. FBI agents picking through a landfill near the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, where the surviving Boston Marathon bombing suspect studied. Other investigators are working on how the bombs were built.
Fox News is told that using remote-controlled toy parts as a detonation mechanism is not found in the al-Qaeda web magazine Inspire, which was cited in early reports as the brothers' likely bomb-making guide. While the working theory among investigators is that one or both of the Tsarnaev brothers triggered the detonation using the speed controllers, Fox News is told a third party in the crowd has not been ruled out. Republican Congressman Mike Rogers is regularly briefed on the investigation.
But it is very clear when you take the totality of it that there was some outside counsel to these individuals.
While the parents of Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev are delaying their trip from Dagestan to the United States, their 19-year-old son was moved to a Bureau of Prisons facility in Fort Devens, Massachusetts.
Fox's Catherine Herridge. A direct warning to troops in Afghanistan. The Taliban announcing the start of its spring offensive, with warmer weather making it easier to travel and to fight. Civilian and military casualties in Afghanistan are higher this month than they were last April. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
There's more to Fox News Radio than meets the ear. Go behind the headlines and join the conversation on the hottest stories of the day on the Fox News Radio Facebook page. Be a part of the Fox News Radio Facebook fan community. Post comments and tell us your opinions. See behind-the-scenes photos and videos and post your reactions to the stories that matter to you. Click the like button on Facebook and connect with breaking news and features like Fox in the Fast Lane, House Call for Help, and more. Go to Facebook.com/Fox News Radio.
Weeknights, we're busting out a brand new lineup. First, market fraud, government abuse, corruption. At 5, nothing's off limits on money with Melissa Francis. Then, from bloated bank fees to consumer scams. At 6, Jerry's exposing the issues impacting your wallet. Plus, get smart market insight and trusted analysis you won't find anywhere else. At 7, Lou Dobbs is all business. And the first and last name in business, Cavuto. Shedding light on the biggest stories making headlines at 8. Only on the Fox Business Network. Giving you the
area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition, including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
I once dated a cyborg astronomer who showed me the wonders of the universe, like the new Samsung Galaxy S4 from U.S. Cellular for only $199.99. Crazy, huh? U.S. Cellular's got the new Samsung Galaxy S4 for just $199.99.
Say hello to great deals on Samsung Galaxy devices like the new Samsung Galaxy S4. U.S. Cellular. Hello better. Certain restrictions apply. Applicable data plan required. New 2-year agreement and $35 device activation fee may apply. See store for details.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information. Email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, well, we're going to wake up to showers and possibly a thunderstorm before 1 o'clock, high near 64 degrees. Later on, a very good chance of showers, mainly before 1 in the morning, a low around 49. I'm Dawn James. And for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
The Donut Palace in West Plains, where the customer is still king. If you're a school group, church group, sports team, or any group function, book it with the Donut Palace. Order 24 hours in advance and at least 3 dozen to receive 10% off your bill, and you won't have the burden of paying tax either. Open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sundays when they close at 1. Call today at 417-256-0606 to have delicious hot and fresh donuts at your next meeting. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace.
It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Hoo-ah. We're back. Thanks for sticking with us through that break. I want to encourage you to support our advertisers because those are the folks that keep this radio show going. If you enjoy it, if you appreciate it, if you get any value from it, then make sure that you support those people because those are the people that actually allow this show to stay on the air. You know, friends of ours like Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, she has been a staunch and long-term supporter of this show. If you haven't visited Chantilly's Bakery, I encourage you to do that. It's number 2 Evans Arcade right there on the square, or right off the square in West Plains, down one of those side alleys. And go over there, get a cup of coffee, get yourself some bakery treats. She makes really great stuff. It's all organically grown and locally sourced, and she's just a patriot. And you got to love her for putting her money where her mouth is. She says, I'm one person, but I know one thing I can do to help support the effort of what America's Voice and Michael are doing, and that's I can advertise on that program, benefit my business, while at the same point in time keeping a good message going and flowing to the people. That's what it's about, people. And if you have an opportunity to, if you're in business and you'd like to support the program, please do so. Don't take some of the advertising money that you're throwing in another direction and put it towards this program. I can tell you this. Go ask the advertisers who work with us what kind of a response they get. Don't take my word for it. Go call them and ask them. Ask Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, who advertises with us and sponsors our phone lines. Ask him what kind of a response he's gotten. I ask Jason all the time, and he tells me I get new customers walking in the door all the time, and they always tell me Mike sent me from America's Voice. I just want you to know. So I can tell you that it works. Go ask Kevin down at the battery station. Go ask Kenny down at West Plains Pawn. Go call these people and ask them, does America's Voice radio advertising work? And I guarantee you the answer will be stunning to you. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. I'll let them do their own testimonial. I'm not going to do it for them. I don't need to. I'm telling you right now that if you ask our advertisers what works and what doesn't work, they'll tell you that this radio program works hard for them and provides and delivers a stunning volume of customers. So if you are in need of customers, I don't care what your business is. I mean, we have Bill Stone from Stone Construction. Go call Bill Stone and ask him what the results are that he gets from America's Voice. Go ask the folks over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance down in Mountain Home what kind of a response they get from our advertising. Every one of them, without fail, will tell you we get new customers who come into our place of business exclusively because of that radio program. And it's up to you. You can spend your advertising dollar any way you want, but you can either spend it wisely and you can deliver, new customers to your door based on a small pittance of your advertising budget coming to this program, or you can continue to do what you've done before and expect the same result. So I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to advertise in a method. And I'll tell you why radio works. One, there's a lot of listeners to this program. I mean, I get new listeners who call me up or email me all the time and say, "Wow, I just found this program." We have listeners around the country who stream and capture our show streaming live over the video every single episode, every single show that we do. And these are people all over the nation. So if you're going to, and our YouTube response is just phenomenal. So when you, and by the way we do our commercials, your commercials play on YouTube. So you're actually getting more than just the live radio program. That you can advertise in the morning with us. You can advertise on the repeat line that we do, or the repeat show that we do in the evening, Monday through Friday. Don't forget that the show plays twice. It plays in the morning, and then it plays again 8 to 9 at night. And then we have Saturdays where we do a 3-hour event. So, you have an opportunity to get a lot of word out there to a lot of people who are in our area. Or if you're a national advertiser, you're going to get national coverage because people all over the country are paying attention to our YouTube videos, and they're capturing those ads as they're played, because our video stream is just a straight across stream. We don't stop the ads or anything else. We just let it run. Choice is yours. If you're in business and you want to drive new business to yourself, this is the way that you can do it. If you're interested, send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org.
Hey, Mike, I got a question. If I was a person and I was like from Europe or Canada or someplace like that, and I wanted to immigrate to the United States legally, why would I bother to do that? Why would I go through the 8 or 9 or 10-year process to come into the United States legally?
Well, for starters, because you believe in the rule of law, and you've got a productive bone in your body, and you realize that in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish here and improve the quality of your life, that coming here legally will entitle you to all of the benefits that our republic offers.
Right, but in the meantime, according to what Eric Holder is saying, okay, and according to the way our politicians are moving, I get to stand in line behind 11+ million people.
33.
33 million people that came here
illegally.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a travesty to those people who have actually done it the right way. And I have to tell you something. There is not another single country on the planet that allows you access and entry, permanent citizenship entry into their country, unless you have met a group of criteria of qualifications. One, you have to be financially self-sufficient and stable. If you are not financially self-sufficient and stable, there is not a country on the planet that will allow you to wander in and immediately go on to their welfare rolls. Nobody is looking to burden their own tax base with a bunch of hapless ne'er-do-wells. And so nobody wants to pay the health care cost for somebody who wanders across the border and says, "Hello, I'm here. What can I get for free?"
Oh, it's not what can I get for free. It's before I left my country, while I was still in Mexico, I paid to go to classes. And when I went to the classes, they taught me about all of the programs and benefits that I could sign up for
when I get there.
That's right, as soon as I snuck into the United States. And I'm here to tell you, I've been on the border of Mexico and Guatemala and the southern border of Mexico, and I can tell you how they handled their immigration problem. They handle it with guns.
Right. You cross this border, and we find you, and we don't bother to eject you back across the border, or the shell gets ejected over the border as it comes out of the end of the receiver. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I hate to call back, Mike. I tell you, I just heard a report, and this, I know it sounds like I'm hung up on this money issue, but I will tell you that they report that we have a $2 trillion underground economy in this country. That's third world.
Yeah.
That's third world.
And the people who are pouring over our borders are a significant portion of that.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to make one final point for something for you to chew on. Without solvency, you will not have sovereignty for long.
Well, I won't disagree with that. I'm not arguing with you about the question of solvency. I hope you don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The two are closely tied together. There's no denying it.
They're really two sides of the same coin.
Yes,
almost.
They are. But
okay,
thanks. So, I don't dispute his argument that, solvency is a critical aspect of this, because what illegal immigration does is it drains our solvency. And I don't disagree with his point. My concern, or my point, I guess, is that if we have sovereignty first, which is why I say, look, here's the deal. We cannot have a discussion on immigration reform until such time as we have actually verifiably sealed our borders. We cannot do anything that even approaches the discussion related to immigration until the borders are verifiably sealed. Once they are verifiably sealed, I'm happy to have any discussion you want. But until such time as those borders are locked down tighter than a goat's butt, we're not having any discussion about immigration. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, Mike, we were talking a little earlier about immigration. And
yeah. I apologize, by the way, but that top of the hour break is long, so I'm glad
right. You got to sell that product, buddy, to stay in business. Ain't a thing wrong with that. That's the American way.
You had a good point that you wanted to bring out to me earlier.
Rush Limbaugh, who I'm not a fan of, he's a pompous ass, and he doesn't offer any solutions, unlike yourself, sir.
I wish he would.
I do, too. He has a big following.
He's got 40 million people. Imagine what he could do if he said, everybody call your senator, and here's the phone number. I mean, the country, the phone lines would come to a screeching halt. What is wrong with him? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with Glenn Beck? What's wrong with Sean Hannity? What's wrong with Coulter? What's wrong with Laura Ingraham?
Exactly right.
That these people are not, and I'm not picking on them specifically. I'm just naming them because everybody will recognize their names. But I have a problem, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to drag you off your topic here,
fine.
but to me, this is something that I feel very strongly about because I've talked about this program called 90 Days That Will Save the World, or will change the world. And
I haven't got to see yet.
What it calls for is basically this. On July 4th of this year, everybody stop paying your bills. Stop paying your taxes, stop paying your car payment, your house payment. And if 10 million people did that, the response would be so enormous. It would be so world shaking. It would be like it would be like aliens suddenly landing in Washington saying, "We are going to give you the secret to the universe." It would be that world shaking. Because what would happen is it would drag this country economically to a halt. If you're not paying taxes, if you're not paying the banksters who are robbing you and cleaning you out, who are in turn using that money that they're to buy and sell Congress like a bunch of commodities, then let's face it, folks, we will have a political amount of clout that will be unimaginable and undeniable. They won't be able to deny the clout that we have. And yet, there are literally dozens of radio hosts out there who maybe they don't even know about it. But it's up to this listening audience to make them aware of it. You listen to their programs too. I know I'm not the only one you listen to. I know you're dancing with other girls at the dance. And Mike's eyes just went wide as saucers. That's a good analogy, though. I know you're dating other girls. And so my point is this. Why aren't they offering, and I'm going to have to ask you to hold for this break too. Why aren't they talking about this? Why aren't they making sure that the world is aware of this and then saying, hey, we can drive this effort and we only need 10 million people to do it. Rush Limbaugh alone could generate 10 million. We'll be back in just a second.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
Complete service and satisfaction is the Earl's Dodge Jeep difference from all the other dealers in the Ozarks. Hello, I'm Janet, and I invite you to come check out our new and pre-owned on the lot at Earl's Dodge Jeep on North Highway 63 across from the fairgrounds in West Plains, where we go out of our way to make you happy. That means doing what it takes to make sure you're satisfied with your total package on your new purchase, which means taking care of you after the sale. It all adds up at Earl's Dodge Jeep, where buying a vehicle is as simple as it should be.
All right, we're back. And this time I promise Glenn has unlimited time to make his point, and I'm going to shut up. I've put you on hold 3 times. Go ahead, Glenn. I'm sorry.
That's okay. There are worse things to have in life.
So my point was this with the other hosts is why these guys who have these massive audiences are not willing to actually do anything because they consider themselves entertainers and not really activists. But the truth is, you can be both. I think this show is entertaining, and I think a lot of people laugh at me a lot, and that's okay. They think I'm a little nutty, and that's okay too. But the truth is, they have such a huge following. I mean, let's be honest. There's 100 million people in this country who listen to talk radio and listen to hosts in whatever form. Maybe it's not always talk radio. Sometimes it's television. I mean, Glenn Beck has The Blaze out there, and he's got a massive audience, right? Rush Limbaugh has a proposed 40 million audience. Why aren't these guys saying, here is a solution to the problem? Alex Jones, I don't know how many million he's got. But, if these guys would just take their audience and use the bully pulpit for something worthwhile instead of driving sales of whatever book or product they're pushing on their website, they could still do all those things and actually achieve something positive for our nation instead of enriching their own coffers based on exploiting our problems. And that's what I hate to say that, and I'm not trying to throw anybody specific under the bus, but that's what it feels like to me, is they're exploiting these problems for their own personal gain by bringing it to the people's attention and getting America, riled up and getting the hair on the back of their neck to stand up. But then, like getting all dressed up for the prom, there's nowhere to go. And I'm saying, I got a place for us to go. July 4th, let's all go to Washington, D.C., or our state capitals, and do it in shifts. Do it in shifts because I get it. We can't all take off work, or we can't all, and not all employers are going to comply. Not everyone's going to participate. But I can tell you this: it would only take a week or two for the news to get out that this was happening, and you'd start seeing people piling on in droves. You'd start seeing businesses who would say, "Wow, that is a good idea. I'm going to play too." And I'm telling you, it would not take long, 30, 60 days, and you would have such a significant groundswell of support for this project that the federal government would finally have to say, the American people have peacefully risen up, and they are going to stop the tyranny that's going on here, with or without our approval. And basically, the game plan is civil disobedience. We sit in Washington, we say we're not going to pay for our cars, we're not going to pay our loans, we're not going to pay our mortgages, we're not going to buy anything, we're not going to sell anything, we are going to seize commerce. Businesses say we are withholding sales tax, and we are going to place that money either in cash in a safe somewhere where it's not accessible, or we're going to put it in a credit union that the federal government can't get access to, so they can't go in and seize the money. And we're going to withhold that money until you all leave. It's a peaceful civil disobedience solution that, to be honest with you, while that may sound radical to a lot of people, and I've had some people say, well, that's not even legal. Guess what? What they're doing is not legal either. Now, I'm not saying two wrongs make a right. I am saying that I would far prefer to go to the civil disobedience level of illegality than I would to go to the Second Amendment level, which is the mutually assured destruction perspective. Which makes more sense? You want to die, or do you want to? And I mean, a bunch of naysayers on YouTube. That YouTube video has gotten 13,000, 14,000 hits, right? There's all these people. Oh, they'll fire on you. Hey, guess what? First of all, they're not going to fire on 10 million people. I doubt it. Secondly, if they do ring 10 million people with military, I don't even think we have enough military to surround 10 million people, because they're all off fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan and in foreign countries where we don't even belong. So let's be realistic about what the issues are. And the truth is, when those people come out and say, oh, they'll fire on you, that just proves my point. That it's time for us to take some drastic action and stop sitting around like a bunch of ninnies on our hands, wringing our hands in fear and trepidation, saying, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? What are they going to do if we revolt peacefully? Hey, listen, people, I don't know what's going to happen either, but I do know one thing. I'd rather die on my feet than die on my belly with a bullet in the back of my head. I tell you what. Anyway, go ahead with your point on immigration. And I don't mean to steal your thunder.
That's okay. It's your show, buddy.
I'm all about thunder. I'm so pissed off. I'm so angry, and I'm so frustrated. And I see so many people who are willing to get out there and shoot their mouth off, but nobody's willing to put their money where their mouth is. Right? People who say to me, "Oh my goodness, they'll take my house away." You know what? They're not going to take your house. First of all, your bank doesn't even know for 90 days that you haven't paid your mortgage. Let's be honest. They're as discombobulated as the federal government. They don't even know for the first 90 days that you haven't paid it. Secondly, it takes 90 before they can even begin the process of a foreclosure action, which takes another 18 months. So, if for those of you out there who are naysayers, if your biggest fear is a ding on your credit report where our founders put their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor on the line, and they were imprisoned and beaten and had their homes and their farms stolen and burned, and their children were killed in war, you're a sad, sorry excuse for a patriot. Okay, I've said my piece.
Well, anyway, good piece. As Rush Limbaugh said, we're not getting 20 million illegal immigrants. We're getting 20 million illegal Democrats. In
Bingo.
one stroke, we would have committed a real politic with the destruction of the Republican Party because they would never recover from
Exactly.
it. And why the Republicans want to do this, now I'm not talking about right or wrong here, I'm talking about political survival. They would have cut their throat and cut their head off.
I'll tell you why. Because they're really not interested in political survival. Here's why. They know what the implication of this is with 20 million new voters, and they've already been promised that they will play a role in the new regime. Make no mistake about it. They have been given the confirmation and the assurance that they will be taken care of. That's what this is really about.
You know what Stalin did, of course, when he had a situation like that? He just took them out, promised them the world, and then shot them in the back of the head.
That's what will happen here, but that's not what they're told, and that's not what they're willing to believe. And if they want to drink that Kool-Aid, they can go ahead and do it. The difference is that when they drink that Kool-Aid and they betray us, that falls under the definition of treason.
And the second item is that, once upon a time, up until about 86, the Secret Service and the United States Border Patrol were neck and neck in the annual inter-service pistol matches. They were supposedly the fifth in the world, and they haven't been in that position in a long time. And I think you'll forgive the analogy, but I think it has to do with the morale of the Border Service. They just shot.
Well,
once upon a time, they were one of the best, considered one of the best police agencies.
Absolutely. And now their reputation is equal to that of the ATF.
Yeah.
By the way, for the record, folks, if you ask law enforcement about ATF, they'll tell you that most of them don't even want to have a joint operation with them because they're sloppy, they're lazy, and they are horribly trained, and they are the worst federal law enforcement agency that we have. Now, without justification, ICE is getting the same reputation, and they've actually filed a lawsuit against the federal government to reinstate deportations because it's gotten so bad that ICE actually had to file a lawsuit claiming that the Obama administration does not have the authority to arbitrarily halt the deportations of these illegal aliens. And illegal alien cheerleaders like Napolitano work harder than ever to try to defeat the same group that, for all intents and purposes, are under. This is like your boss fighting against you to do the job with which you've been tasked. It's incomprehensible to me. If you were the president of GE and a certain division of General Electric, let's say the electric motor division, was tasked with building motors, but the president of GE was saying, I'm going to make it illegal for you to buy the parts to accomplish the job that you have to accomplish, you got to wonder, what is the motivation there? Your own company is fighting against you accomplishing the job they're paying you to do.
But Mike, it doesn't.
It's insanity.
It doesn't just affect law enforcement at the federal level. It affects law enforcement all the way down to the state and local county level, okay? Because you have all these illegal people that are in the country, all right? So they're clogging up our jails. They're clogging up our detention centers. If you're a state, let's say, for instance, you're a state trooper.
Right.
And you have an accident, okay, where a drunk illegal alien goes out and kills somebody.
Right.
All right. And you lock this guy up. You take him back to the barracks. He blows a 2.8. And after he blows his 2.8, you take him in front of a hearing, and he goes to the detention center, and then you ask ICE, you call ICE and you say, hey, I need you to file a detainer on this guy to make sure that he stays in detention because we don't need this guy getting out because we'll never find him again.
Right. And he's been charged for all intents and purposes with vehicular murder or manslaughter.
Vehicular homicide, okay?
Right.
And then, okay, ICE will not file a detainer on the guy, and he disappears. And your chance of ever seeing that guy again are gone.
Right. Because first of all, there's no trackable method. He hasn't used his real name in the first place. And secondly, since he doesn't have any roots and he doesn't have any boundaries, he can change his name and we'll never even know. So he changes his name and he shaves off his beard or he grows one. And the next thing you know, he melts right back into society and we'll never, ever find him again.
But it's not just a federal law enforcement problem. It goes through all the strata of law enforcement all the way down to the local level.
Right. And you got to admit, for a local guy to have an illegal in his possession and be told that there's nothing that they can do except release the guy. I mean, they wouldn't do that to you. They wouldn't cut you loose. But they'll release an illegal. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A possible 9/11 find in Lower Manhattan.
A rusty, mangled piece of metal found sandwiched between two buildings just steps away from Ground Zero is believed to be part of the landing gear of one of the planes that slammed into the World Trade Center on 9/11. Police Commissioner Ray Kelly says the discovery brings back terrible memories but doesn't shock him.
It's understandable. It's not that surprising.
The site is secured like a crime scene.
Fox Radio's Pam Puso. The fight over spending cuts carrying over into this week's addresses with a bill to end furloughs for air traffic controllers. The president saying lawmakers are governing irresponsibly.
Congress passed a temporary fix, a Band-Aid. But these cuts are scheduled to keep falling across other parts of the government.
Republicans slamming the president for using flight delays as leverage to raise taxes and avoid cutting spending. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Thanks to our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can reach Brian down there at 870-492-4030. It's located a half mile east of Walmart on 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My dear friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's located at number 2 Evans Arcade, and you can call her at 255-2253. My friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch opportunity. You can, from 11 till 2, and you can have salad and pizza, something tasty and something good for you. Our friends Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. If you're considering doing any kind of remodeling, new or custom construction and or light commercial, give Bill a call and let him bid on your next project. Our friends at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue, 417-257-7799. They can be found at thebatterystation.com. Our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun, an outstanding opportunity with 400 firearms under glass. You can reach them at 417-256-3000, and they are located at westplainspawn.com. Located physically at Highway 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. And finally, the sponsor of our phone lines, Wits End Classic Barbershop, located on the square in West Plains. Best haircut you can get for $10, and a nice young man as well. Please visit and support our sponsors. America's Voice Now, delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every single day. Hi, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm your host, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me daily for important guests and my unique slant on hot topics in the news. Visit americasvoicenow.org for even more news, articles, and commentary, and watch our show streaming live to your PC. Share your morning with me. Get educated, informed, motivated, and activated. America's Voice Now, right here on 107.1.
News Talk 107.1 The Point weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, we're going to wake up to showers and possibly a thunderstorm before 1 o'clock, high near 64 degrees. Later on, a very good chance of showers, mainly before 1 in the morning, a low around 49. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
It's a call and make your voice heard on the biggest issues making headlines today or on absolutely anything
in your head. Every call I get goes on the air totally unscreened. It's unpredictable and uncensored, and you'll never know what to expect. Anything can and will happen on the next Alan Colmes Show.
And that's who you can catch every weeknight, 9 till midnight. The Alan Colmes Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point, Monday through Friday.
Hey, in our next hour, we are going to have Debbie Slack on with us. Deb is a great friend of mine and a real true supporter of this program. And she runs a group called the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University. And so if you can stick with us for the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, you're going to get a treat because this is a program where Deb is, first of all, she's a retired teacher. But she's been into lifelong gardening, and she's a regular speaker at the Missouri Organic Association and annuals conference. And she works really, really hard to do a lot of different programs. In fact, there is a program this morning for Dawn, another friend of ours. She's going to be running a cheese class today at the BB Road Fire Department. So if you're interested in attending that, it's the BB Road Fire Department. You can call 417-270-0594. And please make that part of your schedule today if you can, because you'll learn how to make your own cheese. How cool is that? I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of self-reliance and self-sufficiency. And for Dawn Jotz to run this class, and it's cheap. I think it's $10 or something. You know, you'd be crazy not to take this. I mean, you'll spend $10 on 2 pounds of American cheese that you'd buy at the grocery store that's made out of mostly oil. Here you're going to have an opportunity to learn how to make your own cheese at Dawn Jotz's cheese class. And it's going to be held today at the BB Road Fire Department. And that phone number is 417-270-0594. Now, Deb Slack is, as I mentioned, she is the creator of the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University, and she will be joining us at 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock this morning, and it's a real treat. So make sure that you, if there's any way that you can stick with us this morning, you do that. If not, we're also going to keep that as a separate stream. So it'll still be streaming this morning, but we're going to upload it separately to YouTube. So if you miss it for some reason, you'll be able to catch it up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. It'll be a great opportunity for you to learn. And she runs classes, by the way, every single week of the month. And so you'll get the whole schedule when we talk with her a little bit later this morning, but it's definitely a worthwhile opportunity for you to get yourself educated about gardening. There's gardening and advanced gardening classes, and then during the later part of the summer, she'll be running other programs for canning as well. And these are usually held in Willow Springs or here in Seventh-day Adventist Church, and then the Koshkonong Senior Center. And basically she repeats these 3 classes, gardening, advanced gardening, and canning, at each of these 3 different towns. By the way, folks, she does this purely as a voluntary thing. I mean, I don't think these classes actually cost anything, or if they do, it's something so nominal that you can't afford not to pay it. And wow, she has special guests that she brings in who are really subject matter experts on different things. And you're crazy if you're not in line with what she's doing at the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University. That's OSLU for the uninitiated. And, you know, her and her husband, Mike Slack, and Debbie Slack, they are real big support. They're the ones who ran the program at the Freedom Festival in Koshkonong. They do this stuff at their own cost and expense. Most of these events that they put on, they actually end up losing money, even when there's vendors there who, you know, rent the table or whatever. And so if you attend any of their programs, even if they don't charge, just walk up there and slip a $10 handshake to Deb or Mike, because these guys really work hard for you. And, you know, that's what true patriots are. These are people who are willing to put their time and their effort into a project that doesn't necessarily pay something, but shares something with the whole community that total strangers benefit from. Total strangers. I mean, there's nothing in it for them financially. They spend an enormous amount of time doing preparation, making phone calls, booking people, getting rooms to rent, putting their own money up to cover the cost of a room, inviting people, advertising it. They don't pay to advertise on this show because I know what they're doing is so damn valuable that I want you to know about it, and I'll make sure I present their information out there for free. Because and I don't even care if the station wants to get paid. I'll talk about it on my time then. Because it's so important that you and we as a community are working together to share the skills and the knowledge that we have. That listen, time is short, and we're going to need skills like how do you make your own cheese? We're going to need skills like how do I start a garden when I got a thumb as black as midnight? We need skills like how do I make my own alcohol for use as a fuel? A seminar that Mike Brown did. I mean, people, and by the way, if you have a special skill in something, you really, and you're not, participating in that way, I encourage you to get a hold of Mike or Debbie, and we'll certainly give their phone numbers out. But John Price from the West Plains Ham Radio Club, he did that ham radio course. He didn't charge for it at all. There was a cost, I think, for a book that you had to buy because you needed to get the test. But I mean, this is stuff that people are doing for free because they have a mission and they have a goal to accomplish something for their neighbors and their friends and the people in our community who in most places, in most instances, they don't even know. These are total strangers. Man, you want to know about who America's founding patriots were. You hear the big names. You hear of Jefferson and Madison and Patrick Henry and, all of those people, right? Today's American patriots, the people that will go down in history, maybe or maybe not, are the Mikes and the Debbie Slacks and the Mike Browns and the Doreen Hannesses of the world. They're the Dawn Jotts and the Kevin Jotts of the world. These are the people who are putting their time and their effort out for free to raise awareness, educate, inform, motivate, and activate people. And even if their names never go down in the history books, that's not why they're doing it, so they don't really care. What really matters is that they educate and they use their time and their talents and their skills and the gifts that God and nature have given them to improve your lot in life and your future and the future of your family. Because having a new skill like gardening is something that your family will benefit from. And if you get your kids involved or your grandchildren involved, that's a skill that you've now taught and handed on. People, you cannot make a bigger impact than that. How did Christianity spread across 2,000 years across continents and the planet? By people who proselytized what a change it made in their life and in their world. This is the same thing. And we all have an obligation to do it. It's just that some of us really take the mission to heart. And I'm going to tell you that people like Kevin and Dawn and Mike and Debbie and the folks that run these different programs like John Price, who's also a minister, by the way, he really gets the whole idea of the discipleship, right? Doreen Hannes. Let me tell you something. Craig Wiles. These are the disciples. These are the patriots whose names will probably never be remembered long after their deaths. Their names won't be in history books. But they put forth an enormous amount of time and effort and energy that I'm so impressed with them, and I'm so touched and moved by their effort and their dedication to a cause that has your name written all over it. Their cause, their time, their effort has your name written on it. And they do it purely as their charge. Man, that's an impressive thing. They're not even looking for some kind of when you see a politician, they don't want to lift a finger to do a damn thing unless they can get it on camera and somebody recognizes them and gives them an attaboy and a pat on the back. These people do it without, it's a thankless job. It costs us money. And let me tell you, I know every one of those families. Every one of them. None of them are wealthy people. Most of them are driving cars that barely make it from point A to point B.
It's my car.
Most of these guys and folks, Mike included, listen, this is the best that America has to offer.
Hey, my vehicle only has 196,000 miles on it.
You're in the top 1 percentile then. I'm going to tell you something. The effort and the energy and the risk, and I do mean risk, that these people take every single day to help you, it's unfathomable. I don't think you really quite understand it.
Ooh, that's another good word. By the way, you've gone on the public record now as self-identifying yourself as being touched.
I am touched. I am touched by their, my hard heart is softened and penetrated by the sacrifice that these people make every single day.
Now, the people in the mountains would say he's touched.
Yeah, well, I'm. A lot of people would say I'm touched in a different way, and I don't really care whether they do or not. You know something? When our founders were out there trying to create this great republic that we've all benefited from, a lot of them were considered radicals and considered nutcases or off the wall or, unpatriotic for standing out there and saying, hey, you know what? We got to walk away from this king because he's doing us wrong. And you know what? They were willing to stand up and take the bull by the horns and really run with an idea, irrespective of public opinion or the personal risks to themselves and their families and their fortunes. And I'll tell you, there's no denying it that there is a lot of that there is a lot of that to be taken into account. Hey, folks, I ask you straight out, what are you doing to support and defend and restore our republic? We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West US Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains from now until the end of April is offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for just $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment is only $6.79.
Coast to Coast AM brings the Ozarks a whole new feel for radio. Midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. Where else would you get callers talking about everything from UFOs to war trends, from mental energy to anomalies, and from lost knowledge to aliens? Listen to experts and researchers who are part of the guest list every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk. Don't miss Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
All right, return we do. I'm going to keep MacArthur's promise, even if he couldn't. We're back. I want to welcome a friend of ours on. Good morning, Cassandra. Are you there?
Good morning, Mike.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Enjoying your show this morning.
And by the way, I didn't name you, but you have long been a strong supporter of this program, and you and your significant other.
Yes.
And
well,
I got to tell you, I am not only appreciative of the effort that you guys put forth, but if it weren't for you, this show would not be on the air. I got to tell you that. So, and enough said. Anyway.
Oh, well, hey, we believe in freedom, Mike.
I know you do.
I wanted to make 3 quick points about the juries you were talking about, and then I will get off and let you talk about them. Okay?
Okay.
Number one, how is an illegal alien a jury of our peers? Number two,
really?
what about the language barrier? And number three, America is being deliberately diluted so our systems no longer work. You know, if you're sick and a druggist deliberately dilutes your meds, it gets to the point that it no longer works. I'll get off and let y'all talk.
Thank you. Good points. Excellent points, actually. So basically they were, first of all, how are illegals, and we're referencing the story that came out that California is going to allow illegal aliens to sit on juries. I brought that out in an earlier segment. And the questions are really clear and really obvious, and I'm glad that Cassandra brought them out. One, how is an illegal a peer? I mean, a jury of your peers is the law. And you cannot have a peer who has, one, no legal status. Number two, they haven't even been in the country long enough to understand our method of government and our laws. Number three, they obviously don't adhere to our laws.
And if they're not a citizen, they haven't been schooled in reference to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And
so how can they possibly sit on a jury as a peer? I'm telling you right now that if I were in California and I found out any juror was sitting on that panel that was, or was impaneled as a juror that was an illegal alien, I would use that as grounds for an appeal.
But wait a minute. Why not let them on juries? We let them vote.
I get it, but, and we have no business doing that either. But I am telling you that in my way of thinking, any decent attorney would be able to utilize that as a grounds for an appeal. And I'd take it all the way to the Supreme Court, because the truth of the matter is they're not a jury of our peers. We can prove empirically that that's not what our founders intended. It's in writing over and over and over again. Jurisprudence in the United States, the basic laws and rules of jurisprudence are empirical about this. You cannot have someone who has no legal standing as a peer. So, in and of itself, I'm telling you right now that California, I should say California, because that's what they are. California has violated the basic tenets of the Constitution and common law predating the Magna Carta. Predating the Magna Carta. What was the Magna Carta, 1500 or something? I mean, long before our founders were even dreams in their great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy's eye.
1588, I think.
Secondarily, the language issue. How are you going to have someone sit on a jury who doesn't speak the language? I mean, or has a small minority grasp of it?
Well, look, you look at Boston. All right, somebody comes into the country. Oh, I can't go back where I came from. It's political. They'll pick on me. Now I bring my entire extended family to the United States. Now the kids decide, oh, well, we don't like it here. We got a bone to pick here.
So we're going to kill everybody.
There you go. There you go. This is 50 years of failed immigration policy.
This is 100 years of progressive destruction of the republic. That's what this is. This is 100 years of progressive destruction of the republic, starting in 1912 and 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act, the elimination and the modification of the 17th Amendment, where Congress and our senators are no longer assigned and appointed by our legislature, where they are now popularly voted in, which means they're accountable to nobody.
By the way, if there's only one of those,
income tax.
If there was only one of those that I could roll back, it would be the 17th.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I think I'd have to go with the Federal Reserve Act. The Federal Reserve Act is treason, dude.
You just need somebody like Jackson in there who's willing to go.
Well, the Federal Reserve Act is what's given us $17 trillion in debt, and I don't even know how we repudiate that at this point. I mean, Iceland did it, but, that's like saying New Jersey repudiates its debt. I mean, it's such a it's a flea on the elephant's butt.
I
don't know. To me, this whole thing is so out of control. That's why I say to you people, everything is so out of control. I don't know how we get it back without declaring a frank and open, but peaceful and civilly disobedient rebellion. because everything has gone too far. We are no longer at a point where we can go back and politically salvage the republic. We cannot. The only way we can do it is to bring the train to a screeching halt and start it over. And start it over on a constitutional foundation. Now, I know that there's going to be a bunch of screaming progressive ninnies out there who say, this isn't fair. Well, guess what? If America, as a collective group, if 15, 20, 30 million Americans get together and say, we're marching on Washington and we're not leaving until you do, and we're eliminating the Federal Reserve, and we're sealing our borders, and anyone who's illegal has got 90 days to raise your hand, and you can leave voluntarily. We'll even give you an exit package. We'll pay your way home, right? And if you're caught after that, you're going to be immediately imprisoned, and you're going to be imprisoned in a Joe Arpaio type way. We're not going to put you up in some cushy digs in the middle of Indiana in a federal prison where you can work and send your money home. What we're going to do, and don't tell me that don't happen. I've been there, done that, seen it, lived it. You want experience with that nonsense, I'll tell you all about it someday. But let me tell you this. We need to declare that our nation is ours again, and it is sovereign, and it is independent, and it is under the rule of common law. Common law means we take all of this crap that has been forced down our throat by literally thousands of administrative agencies, and we repeal all of it. Not over years, overnight. That's an upheaval. That's exactly the point. It needs to be an upheaval. We can no longer sit here and wait for politicians to do the right thing. They've obviously abandoned anything about the word right. Anything about the word integrity. Anything about the word honor. Anything about the word representation.
All right, hang on, though, because we have some good things going on in this state. Think about it. Schaefer, what's going on with that? The Second Amendment?
Listen, I'm not saying some good people aren't going to be pulled out of office, but I am saying this, but I will tell you this. There may be some good people.
There's some good things going on, though.
I'm not saying that there aren't. The Second Amendment Preservation Act, which is about to fly, if everybody will get on the phone and call their senators, need I remind you again, everyone should be on the phone to your state senator. Everyone. And demanding, not asking. You must say it politely, but you must be firm, and you must be unequivocal. I am insistent and demanding that you vote yes on the Second Amendment Preservation Act. But even with that, I'm talking about the federal oppressiveness that is going on in our everyday lives. And I'm here to tell you, when we talk about agencies and the elimination of agencies, it's, people are going to scream anarchy. It's not anarchy. It's not anarchy to obviate a bunch of laws that had no legal right to pass under the Constitution. Every administrative agency in the nation, without exception, is extra-constitutional, unconstitutional on its face. They had no right to create an agency. When I say they, I mean Congress, because we never gave them that authority. They have taken a power of attorney we have given them, and they've usurped it and twisted it and done with it that which we would have not accepted.
Okay. But I'm telling you, there's some good things going on in this state, and we need to celebrate those small victories.
I'm not saying we can't. And I'm not saying that the Second Amendment, but let me tell you something. With the elimination of all federal agencies, we don't even need the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Quite frankly, we don't need it anyway. The federal law already says, and the Constitution, and let me rephrase that, the Constitution already says, because that to me is federal law. The Constitution already says the right of the citizens to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You cannot misinterpret that. You cannot twist that, manipulate that, unless you're some kind of a lawyer and you're trying to play games with the language. But the simple rules of law are rules of law. The Second Amendment is inviolate. And you can sit there and tell me that the federal government has the right to do any damn thing it wants, and I'm telling you right now you're wrong. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution already says that states are to be the arbiters of law. Thomas Jefferson reiterated over and over and over again that the federal government's sole obligation was to deal with foreign commerce, foreign treaties, and sealing the borders, and a national monetary supply system so that all states use the same money. But he also made it very clear that all laws involved were meant to be followed and dealt with by the states, including all law, criminal law. You can't criminalize the Second Amendment. Okay, when we come back, Deb is going to join us, Debbie Slack. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a minute.
We are the Ozarks' best news talk, KBMV Birch Tree.